Klay Thompson to me belongs on the should be traded but won't be all-stars, but I think he's closer to can't be traded. Expiring $43 million contract, and I just don't know if he's valuable enough to make sense in a deal for anybody based on last postseason. So, like, if I'm Golden State, I look long and hard at using him as the matching salary for a bigger trade. That's probably the main utility that he has at this point in time, is going and getting somebody great without having to give up Steph or Draymond or Wiggins, who make a lot of money for you, and Chris Paul, who probably isn't even, good enough to make it to that. So again, we talked about Karl Anthony Towns. Could that type of trade work? The Pelicans for Brandon Ingram. I'm not quite sure if the value maps out. Toronto for Siakam. You add the young guys, Kuminga, Moody, some of the picks, which the Warriors actually have a decent amount of. Use the $43 million that Klay's making. Upgrade that spot. Go all in. Use his salary before it's off your books. That's like the ideal, but it's Klay Thompson. He won 4 rings for you. He went through injuries. I don't know if it's realistic.
I am... Boy, this is just like, it's just like he would be one of those guys. Hall of Fame doesn't look right in this other jersey guy, right? Like that's what this would be.
Do you think that they pay him next summer? Because that's a big question that you would have to factor in. What do they pay him?
I don't think they can pay him for a contract that's at what he's at now, or a raise.
More or less than what they just gave Draymond.
What did you know off the top of your head what Draymond's AAV
25 is? Between 25 and 30 million a year.
I could see it. I could see 23 to 25 in that range. And you just say, like, hey, you've done a lot for us. Like, we treat our guys well, and we're gonna go out on our shield with you, Steph and Dre.
I mean, they already gave him the thank you contract. They paid him when he was hurt. I don't know if it's... I don't know the details of their, obviously, whatever would go on between the two parties, but I have to imagine that Klay would be understanding of, you're going to get rewarded for being a starting caliber wing on a good team, but you're not getting some sort of Godfather money just because you have done things for us. We already did that for you. Now you're getting properly compensated. You know what I mean? And I don't know, but that version of events is not terrible. He was better than, I think he wasn't as good as what we think of Klay Thompson as being. He wasn't even as good as he was in 2022.
He's not.
But he was fine. He took 10 threes a game and made close to 40% of them last year during the regular season. And he played 70 games. So, this is not some sort of broken carcass of a player.
No, there is an overall field goal percentage drop on twos that is not nothing, and I think that if he's not the same defensive player anymore.
He wasn't for one playoff run, but would you have said that after they won the championship? I mean, he's not the same as he was pre-multiple catastrophic injuries, but I just mean he was passable when they won the title. Just last year he dropped off. So why can't he bounce back to 2022?
No, that's fair. I think that's possible. I think I don't know how culturally PR-wise, you could trade him more than anything else. I think I could get the basket. You could talk me into this basketball-wise, and some other team. You could just be like, "Hey, you got Klay Thompson. You get to so you got Klay Thompson."
Yeah.
We've seen those kinds of shit happens before. It's the PR and locker room part of this. Could you imagine the Draymond Green podcast episode after a Klay Thompson trade?
Klay would be on it.
Yeah, Klay's absolutely on it, and they're just trashing Mike Dunleavy for an hour. You know what I mean?
Isn't it so bizarre that Mike Dunleavy is just the GM of that team now? It's wild. Yeah.
Look, we're in a world, Brendon, where guys that we grew up kind of watching in a lot of ways, or in his case for me, I covered him for a blip.
Mm-hmm.
He's in one of the most insane pregame video. I'll send it to you, but he's in one of the most insane pregame hype videos or team hype videos that it feels like it had to be made in the late 90s. And I couldn't believe that this came out in 2016, something like that, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts, but yeah, I don't know how, yes, this isn't a guy that has had the same, relationship in the same way that, Bob Myers did, but, can you, how do you even, sell to the locker? How do you go to Steph and be like, hey, man, we traded Klay? We got like some
Well,
seconds.
that's why I said it. No, you don't get some seconds. What you do, and the only reason I bring it up, is to use his salary before it's off your books to go get a superstar. I'm not saying to dump him. That would be stupid. It would be stupid from a basketball standpoint too, because you need him. They don't have a deep team. Like, even whatever he is now is better than nothing. So I'm not saying just get rid of the guy. I'm saying if you
what
went
star
to the Raptors,
should they prioritize? They're going to do this.
I listed 3, but if you went to the Raptors and you said, we'll send you Klay, Moody, and 2 future top 5 protected first round picks for Pascal Siakam. Like, you're in the room. You're on the short list that they're calling back as negotiations take place, I would say.
I think the level of star is the tricky part to gauge here, because I think to do this you got to go like aim really high, and I wonder what the best package you could get with what they could offer is. Would Toronto do that for Siakam?
Well, I said that they would be in the room at least.
Would Portland's not doing that? You don't need a guard.
The 3 that I said were Towns, Ingram, and Siakam.
I'm just trying to think of like beyond Ingram. Like, okay, like what they do for Zion?
The Pelicans would absolutely never do that. No, it's not even close to what they would need for Zion. They wanted Scoot Henderson for Zion and couldn't even go for it. They're not going to take Moses Moody. Yeah, it's tough.
I'm like
it's not easy. But I just think it's something that's not getting talked about enough, and I think this season it will be a storyline. What is the future of Klay Thompson with the Warriors? What are the contract outlines of what they might offer him starting to take shape as, and how does that affect the culture? This past year it was Draymond, but he played awesome, so it didn't really become a problem. If Klay is not, continues to deteriorate or gets benched or whatever it might be, then it gets a little uglier. And I think right now would be a perfect time to cash in before any of that happens and do it. But it won't happen, which is the spirit of this list.
I'm trying to think if there's a Kings trade I would do, because Vivek used to be the part owner.
Sabonis is ironically
like
an awesome fun fit with the Warriors, but him and Draymond would murder one another. So. Probably not.
Yeah,
Probably
it would.
Not
I'm saying would you do? Could you get like 2 picks, Herter and Monk, and just like
it would just be hilarious to
brother.
think of. I'm already on the Sabonis thing. That might be a fine trade, the one that you said. But the idea of Draymond, they're like, you get your money, but you have to play with Chris Paul and Domantas Sabonis, 2 of the people that you've feuded with the most over the past 5 or so years of your career, and that is your having your cake and eating it too, but also getting it taken away. I don't know what the metaphor would be, but that is your punishment for giving us so much crap over the years. You have to play with those guys.
You're putting Draymond Green in like a steel cage WWE match if you do that is what you're doing.
Yeah, pretty much.